I'm trying to reproduce everything in Ladybug, but I don't seem to be able to get the sun to go on my sun path. Is there a specific sort of plugin that I need to do for that?
It's just a Grasshopper component, which you need to connect to the Ladybug component to create that line.
Got the lines, but I just don't have that the sphere that goes on the chart.
So you have to, Ladybug automatically produces just a point and not a sphere. So you can draw a sphere on top of your points. Yeah, and that's another. It's like it's if you just type
in Rhino, I draw in a sphere where the points are.
Yeah, exactly. So if you just type sphere, like this item. Yeah, and then you connect the center of your sun to this, and then you can give it a radius.
Okay.
So the radius can be like 2, anything that looks good on your sun path. And then you can even change it to yellow by changing the color that the outcome of this is a sphere. Let's see. Let's get into my Rhino and see the outcome. Okay. Okay, so the outcome is a sphere, and the sphere is red. Just for your information, you can change, because I've noticed that, for instance, in my Rhino is the same. All the Ladybug, like the components are like when you're drawing a sun path. And is that the case for you, that when you're drawing windrows, sun paths, the lines in Rhino are either red or any colors, red and black?
Yeah, they're usually red.
Yeah, okay. So you can change that by going into this document preview setting in Grasshopper.
Where about?
Click on that. It's on the Grasshopper.
Yeah.
If you click on document preview settings, it says that the normal is red, and when you select an item, it becomes green. So you can change the normal to black like this.
Okay.
And then you can see that automatically my sphere becomes black.
Okay.
So it changes the normal color of Grasshopper from red to black. So
okay.
That helps you a lot in producing your documents. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
And then you have your spheres. You want it yellow. So this is your sphere and it's black, but you want it yellow to show the sun. So you actually have to change it the preview. So if you just type preview and custom preview, and then you connect your geometry to here, it asks for a material. Automatically it has it, but it's like a pink. So you want to ask for like a yellow. So you bring a swatch of color, and then you change it to and then when you connect it, this becomes yellow. notice that when you select it, it becomes green. That's because of the setting that we have on Grasshopper. That green is the selected item and black is all items. Okay. If there is no other questions, we will get into using power analysis. Probably bring a geometry from okay. Okay. So, just quickly go through, let me just disable some of these. Radiation is not what we are covering. Might be deleted. And here from back here, so I'm probably going to delete these as well. Okay, so remember what we did? What we actually imported the weather data. So I have the file. I downloaded the file on my computer, so you just don't get confused with this. What I've done was I fiddling this and automatically disable everything. So I have a set of like a geometry in here, and I'm going to turn off the grid and okay, so I have the file on my computer because I don't want to get it every time from the website. So what I did was I downloaded on my computer, and instead of bring it like that every time, I'm just typing file path. And then when you do that, you can right click and say select one existing file. So I'm going to where I have actually saved the file, which is in here, EPW file. That's for Victoria Melbourne International Airport. And then I click on it, I open it, it automatically reads the file, and then I connect that to this component. So instead of actually getting the file from the website each time, I'm reading the file from here. So that's where we have everything. We have location, dry bulb, temperature, and blah, blah, blah. So I'm not going through that anymore. And then with that, I have a set of building in here, which you should have your own building. You can bring your building into Grasshopper by typing grep and bring a container. So as you remember, I told you all in the first tab, all of these are containers. So you can take something from Rhino scene and bring it into this Grasshopper by using these containers. If you're bringing a point, if you're bringing a vector, line, rectangle, plane, anything. And if you're bringing a geometry or grep, this means that this can contain anything. So I highly recommend that you use these two like grep for all of the things that you want to bring. So that's the reason I actually changed the name. You can double click, you can right click on top of it and change the name to building. So when you're looking at it, you know that what is this container. But deep into that component, it actually needs grep to become gray. So you see that I cannot actually select this. For the sake of presentation, I'm using the same technique that I told you for the sun to change these components to something more like a bluish. So you can use any color that you want. If I just delete this or just disconnect it, it becomes. And this preview this one. You see that this becomes black, which is the main color of my Rhino. So yeah, I connect this and make sure that when you are connecting it, make sure that you are turning off the display or this preview of this by Control Q or right click, or the other way is just the middle bottom of your mouse. You just click on it and turn on and off. Okay, so this is something easy. You have to bring your buildings into the Grasshopper, and you can give it like a customized color to make it more nice and clean. And I actually, this is something that you probably don't need it. I'm trying to find the center of this to put the sun path exactly in the center of my building or my components. So I group them all, I group all buildings and then draw a bounding box around it. So if I make this open, you can see that I'm actually grouping them together, and then I'm creating a bounding box around it. And by this component, which is area component, the output of this area component is two things. One is the area of that geometry, which is that box. The other one is the center of that geometry, which is the box. So all I've done in these three components is to get a center. Okay, so this should be pretty much simple. So I have a center now, you can see. And because it's a center of the box, it's not on the ground. You can move it to the ground, but I don't mind. I just want to move my sun path center to the center of this geometry, so the geometry looks very nicely sit in the middle of the sun path. So yeah, so if I actually disconnect this. So if I actually enable this and the sun path created, you can see that now the geometry is nicely seated in the middle. Make sure that you are scaling your sun path so that both geometry and sun paths are readable. So if I delete this, you will see that how the sun path is small. So I'm adjusting that with my own geometry, in terms of the scale of geometry, adjust it to make sure that it's larger than your geometry. It's not too large so that when you zoom out, your geometry is not readable. So make it nicely proportionate with the geometry. So anything about the sun path, you probably know already if your north is different from the north of the rhino. So for instance, if this is, so you see that if you go to the top view, this is north, this is south. So if this is my north and the north of the sun path is not matching with the north of my geometry, I have to go to the geometry container again. On the first tab, geometry container, bring a vector, right click on it and set one vector. And that one vector is actually, it starts from the middle point. So it's, for instance, like this. And then I'm connecting this to the north. So the sun path is rotating to match with the geometry. Yeah. My suggestion is, instead of changing your sun path, rotate your geometry to match with the north of the sun, because that actually ensures you that you are not interfering with the location input. Because if you manually change the north, you're actually changing this location as well. So do not manually change the north, but change the geometry. For instance, if this is my geometry, rotate your geometry. You can do it in the grasshopper or you can do it in the rhino. It doesn't really matter, but I'm not doing it now because my computer is very slow. But you can type rotate, bring the rotate geometry, and then from this building you can rotate it along this axis. Sorry, my computer is very slow, so I'm not doing that. Okay, so yeah, you can actually change it in Rhino before bring your building into the grasshopper. So you make sure that the north of your building is always on the top, and then bring it to grasshopper, because the ladybug automatically assumes that north is on the top. Always the north of the sun path on ladybug is on the top. Okay. So yeah.
In Rhino, that's the north in top view is facing up?
Yes.
Okay.
Always is facing up. So if you face your geometry in that direction, so if you adjust your geometry north to face always on the top, then you don't have any problem doing or changing the north into there.
Got it. Thanks.
All right, I just have a question as well.
Yeah.
When you put the building in, like the toggle that says building, I just missed what you typed in to get the thing that you connect the building into, if that makes sense, if you scroll over.
Here.
So yeah, that one with the G and the M. What did you type to get that?
This one?
No, above.
Where the building?
Yeah, that one.
That's just a preview. If you type preview, that's a custom preview.
Okay.
It's custom preview, which let you to actually change the preview of the objects, customize it, and not following the grasshopper settings. So you can customize one single geometry without changing your settings, because if you change the setting here, everything would be changed. But you can just customize one single item. So you can customize the buildings to become something like gray or blue. And on the other hand, you can customize the sun to become yellow. Yeah. So you can use this component for all of your objects that you want to change the color.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
No worries. Any other questions? No. Okay. So let's continue. So that's what we have, Norse location, and if you remember, hour of the year. There is one component here, it's daylight saving. We know that we have daylight saving in Melbourne. If in any countries that you are actually based in, there is no daylight saving, it's okay that you just leave this empty. But in Melbourne, daylight saving period in Melbourne starts from April, and it starts from 4th of April, and then that's for this year. Start from the 3 a.m. in the morning, and the end month is October. The end date is 3rd of October, and the end hour is 2 a.m. in the October. So you bring analysis period, ladybug analysis period, and you actually insert all these times and days. And from the output, which is period, which is hour of years, you are connecting this to, no idea why I've created 2, but it's 2 actually. That's fine. So you're connecting this period to this daylight saving period. Just remove this. Okay, so this is about daylight saving period option, and then don't worry about that. So that's a center point, which I've changed it already to the center of this geometry. That's about the scale. Don't worry about the projection. And about the daily, what is the default? The default is false. You don't have to put any input on here. And that's about the data. So the data is exactly, if you want to overlay any data on your sun pass, for example, you want to overlay the temperature. And there is a reason behind overlaying any data on the sun, is because, for example, if you're overlaying the temperature, then you can actually extract the data from only the summertime. For example, if you want to see only the summertime, you can say when the temperature goes above 28, then show me the sun path, show me the sun position. If the temperature is below 28, I'm happy, or 26, I'm happy, don't show me anything. But if the temperature goes above that, show me the sun direction so that I can actually block the sun. Or in the winter, if the temperature goes below 9, show me the sun position so that I can help to redirect the sun into my building. So if you have any specific purpose in doing that, you can actually link the data on top of this. So you can define your period yourself, the data like a dry bulb temperature. So if you go to that analyze data and bring ladybug, ladybug apply conditional statement. That's different, sorry. Ladybug apply analysis period. So it's ladybug analysis period and apply analysis period. So these are different. Analysis period, if you apply analysis period, it means that you are taking a data, for example, dry bulb temperature, and then you're applying a specific period on top of that. So for instance, summer period, or I can change this to summer period. This one. Control. start of the month. For example, you want to check the December or probably February, because February is the hottest month in Melbourne according to the data. So if you change the start month and then change the start date to first, and 1st of February, starting hour would be 0, or maybe not 0, because you just want to check the hours of the sun. The sun is in the sky, so probably 6 a.m. and the end hour is 8 p.m., which is 20, and end hour, and the ending is 28th of February. Start hour 6, end month is 2 February. Okay, so if you connect this to dry bulb temperature, so you have to, if your input is period, then you have to take the period outcome to connect to this. And connect this to data on your sun path. And these hours are also connected to the sun path. So if I turn on my sun path, now I should see the sun for only February, and you can see the temperature in here. So anything that is red is 39, 36. It goes all the way to bluish ones are 9 and below. So it's dry bulb temperature, which is overlaid on sun path. You can also apply a statement. So if you go to the statement, apply, sorry, the interface has changed and we have a hard time finding things. Apply statement, conditional statement, it's here. So again, you are connecting temperature, and instead of period, this time you are saying that just give me the times when the temperature is above 28. And instead of connecting a specific period to that data, you can still have this specific period and connect the statement as well. And look what happens. Hopefully it's not crashes. It crashed. Okay. If you disconnect this, it works. So you either have to put a period or put a statement. You can't put both of them. So when you're putting this, it gives you only the sun for the times that the temperature is above 28 degrees. Is that clear what I'm doing? So it doesn't give you the sun position for all during like the whole year or whole months. It's just pick the times that the temperature is above 28 degrees. Do you have any questions? Nope. Okay. So the output, as you can see, is the vectors, which is the sun vectors. Let me just create some space in here. So the output of this is sun vectors and the altitude and azimuth and the hour of the years, the sun path, the sun points, which are these points, which you can draw sphere. On here. Probably it's not going to work on my computer, but yeah. Sorry, I shouldn't do it. Are you all able to follow me at this stage? Yeah. Okay.
I'm so sorry, but can you recording because like right now the internet connection in my area have some problems. It's just like a few seconds the Zoom will kick me out and reconnect.
Okay. Let me see.
Recording in progress. Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Okay. So you can draw spheres. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm just showing you. You can draw spheres by connecting the sphere points to the breadth to the spheres. So just double click on the canvas, just type spheres and bring sphere component. You can give a radius. So if sometimes it's very small.
Sorry,
So
I don't think we are seeing your share screen.
Okay, sorry. So you can double click on your canvas and type sphere and bring a sphere component. And the center point of these spheres would be your sun points. I'm not connecting it anymore, but it's sun points. And then you can, if the spheres are very small to see, you can give it like a number. So remember, double click on the canvas, quotation mark will bring a panel and type 2. So this gives you a 2. So, and then you connect this to the sphere and that's it. So this now is going to create sphere somewhere here. I'm not sure where it's created, but because it automatically have a value and it creates spheres somewhere. So that's how you create spheres. And if you want to create lines, vectors, if you go to the building, let me see. Let me just bake my building. So remember that baking your geometry will create everything in Rhino. So I'm baking it, so I'm creating everything in Rhino. And for example, I'm selecting this building. And I can actually delete everything except this one because I have them in Rhino. And I bring another BREP component, right click, set one BREP, and set this one. And I'm going to internalize the data, which makes it into the grasshopper. So you don't need to have this geometry in Rhino anymore because I already have it on grasshopper. And I'm bringing this into the sun path here. I'm changing the color again with swatch color. I'm changing it to something like red, or maybe more, yeah, something like this. And then I bring custom preview. I'm connecting this and this. So it changes this to the red. So you know that this is my building and this is the rest is the context. So I want to draw lines from sun pass to this building. Yeah. So I'm going to either have a point on this, or if you have your windows, you can actually specify the center of your windows. Or I'm just creating the center of this. So I'm going to ask, where is the center of this? It's definitely somewhere inside the building, you see? So I'm going to draw lines from double click type line from 2 points. It's this one, line. So if you hover over it, it says create a line between 2 points. So the first point is this one, and the second point is the sun path. The sun points, the location of the sun. So you see that it's drawing from each sun, it draws a line from the sun into the building. So you can exactly see that, for example, when the sun is in this location, there is nothing blocking the sun. But when it's in this location, this building is blocking it. Yeah. Is that clear?
Sorry, my video is not on. The second part that you just explained made sense, but I forgot how you actually selected the building.
That's not really important because you don't have my geography. That's not really important because you don't have my geography. Mute yourself. Yep. Okay. So you don't have my geometry. You have your own buildings, and the buildings are. You have your own buildings. I'm hearing myself. Can you mute yourself? Can you mute yourself?
Sorry, I've just.
That's fine. Okay. So you have your own building, and your buildings are not in Grasshopper. It's in Rhino. Yep. So it's totally fine if you just select your window and bring it in here. Just right click, type set one rep, and just have your window instead of having one building, because you only have your house. It's not a bunch of towers like this, like the geometry that I have. So you can select your window and you can say like in the middle of the window, so you can get the middle of your windows with this area component, and then connect your sun path, your sun vectors from the sun to that component, from the sun to that window. So it doesn't really important how I actually got this, because that's totally different from yours. My geometry is in Grasshopper, it's not in Rhino at all. So if I want to extract one building, I have to go back to my geometry and I have to bake it. So the bake, I have to right click and bake it. So the bake component actually creates all the geometry in Rhino like this. So now in Rhino, I can select them separately. So yeah, I can actually select this geometry and bring it into the grasshopper separately, not in groups. So just set one rep. So now this is in grasshopper. And then I actually right click and say internalize data. This internalized data make the link between grasshopper and Rhino disconnected. It internalize all the data into grasshopper. So if I do that, if I internalize it, I can select all the geometries that I've created in Rhino and delete it. That I want in grasshopper. This one is in grasshopper and the whole buildings are also in grasshopper. Is that clear? But because you have everything in Rhino, you can do it first. You can actually select the whole building and bring it as a building component, or your neighbors as a building component if you 3D model any neighbors around your building. And then your window, that is the purpose of your analysis, is your dining room and bedroom windows. You can select them and create a line between them. You can bring them separately with the prep components into the grasshopper. Clear? Hopefully. Okay, let's get back.
Yeah, that's clear. Sorry, my internet is really bad.
No worries. So you guys right now know how to create lines from the sun. From the sun to your building. And now you can easily see that when the temperature is above 28 degrees, because this is what we got from this statement, this means that when it's summer, because in winter it doesn't go above that. In summer, that's all the summer suns. In summer, if you create this diagram, you will see that these buildings are blocking the sun in specific dates or times, and only some dates are receiving direct sun, and this face which is not facing the direct sun at all, so we are not receiving any direct sun on this face, and on this face is where we are normally receiving the sun, but it's blocked, partially blocked from with these buildings around it, and only some part of it is achieving this. If you know Grasshopper, you can go ahead and customize this. You can type intersection and find the lines that are intersecting with this geometry, and then delete those lines, and only lines that are not intersecting with any geometry remains. So exactly you know what time or what date your sun is receiving, your geometry is receiving direct sun. Clear? But I'm not getting into Grasshopper components anymore. So up to creating the line is okay for us at the moment. Okay, and you need all these analysis on your third assignment. You have to repeat them, and that's where you're going to design. So it's really important to understand what you're doing. It's not just about repeating what I'm doing. Is that clear? If you don't understand part of it, just let me know now. It's not just duplicating what I'm doing. It's totally understanding, because you have to do that for your third assignment, which is designing. Okay, that's a new component now, which is direct sun hour. So now we have sun path, and we know exactly the sun vectors that are going to reach this building in a specific time of the years that the temperature is above 28 degrees, and that's something that you have to modify in your own simulation and analysis. I just put that as an example, like 28 is just an example, but you should be meaningful in putting any statement in here. You actually need to do like interpretation to see what exactly you need and what type of statement you need to apply. Okay, so let's go to this visualize data. There is another, no, maybe analyze geometry. There is another component. It's the first component, which is says ladybug direct sun hour. It's on the analyze geometry. So you actually go through this component to see what it needs. It needs vectors, and let's think about vectors. Do we have vectors, or do we have to create them? Response? Anyone knows? Do we have to create vectors, or do we have it from other components? Come on, you just guys told me that you don't have any questions and you're understanding fully what I'm telling you. It's a simple question. Do we have vectors, or do we have to create it?
It should be there,
I
right?
have that.
And where is it exactly? It's in the sun path output. So that's what we have. So we connected. And it's the first time in Grasshopper, in Ladybug components, that you are seeing geometry and context. So this means that direct sun hour is going to this analysis geometry tab. Anything on this analysis geometry tab needs geometry. So it's not about just analyzing your weather, it's about analyzing your geometry within a context. So you need your geometry and you need the broader context around it. Okay, so we will feel that later. So what else do we need for this component? It's a legend parameter, which we can do it, but it's not compulsory because there is no left dash. Because we have right dash, it's not compulsory. Anything that you don't have right dash is actually compulsory. So we need grid size. For a mapping purpose, like this, that's true for all mappings. From now on, anything that you are mapped on a surface, you should know that it creates a mesh or a grid first, and so that's why I'm saying that when you zoom in, you might be able to see really on this one. But what Grasshopper is doing, not simply just Grasshopper, what any mapping plugins that you will see from now on, it can be like a sound mapping, it can be temperature mapping, drywall, radiation. What they are doing is they are taking this surface and they are making grids out of it. And Ladybug or any other plugins that are mapping, they are calculating, for example, the sun hour analysis for each of these grids separately. And then there is a number associated to each of these, which makes the color, which actually assign a color. So that's how these colors are created. So it's a grid and a color. It's exactly the same as a grid that you created in your measurement. You remember? What I told you in the first assignment, I told you that as much points or grid, as much points as you create, it gives you more value, more numbers. And it helps you to smoothly create your map. While if you just had one point on the center and 4 points on the corners, which means you only have your grid like this, you are having just one data in here and 4 data in here. So all of these should be one number and one color, one number, one color, one number, and one color. So instead of having this nice gradient of the colors, you would get only 4 colors. Is that clear what grid is? So now you can tell me that as much as this grid increases, these colors become more rich, more smoother, but it takes more time to calculate because you are increasing the number of these squares that the grasshopper has to calculate. But it gives you more value, which means that it gives you more range of colors, and the transition between one color to the other color will be more smooth. So get back to the ladybug. So this is the grid. So it asks you for a grid. It asks you whether you want a very smooth, like dense grid, or even like 2 or 3 squares are enough for you. So by default, you can try and see what works for you. What I'm going to do is, at a moment, I'm probably going to calculate the sun, that is, because I don't have any windows at this geometry. I can do one thing. I can create a surface in front of this geometry. Like this, to see how much sun is getting into that surface, and I can alternatively I can bake this and bring surface, copy. So top surface,
Sorry, your screen is on PDF file. I can't see your grasshopper.
Oh, you can't see my grasshopper?
No.
Can you see it now?
Yes, thanks.
Okay, I created a surface in front of this building. So that's one of my surfaces that I want to analyze. I want to see, for example, that courtyard in front of that building, how much light it's receiving. I'm also going to do 2 more surfaces. One is this one on the top of the building. So what you have to do for these surfaces is you have to select the surfaces of your spaces. For example, if your bedroom, you have to select the bedroom, the floor of your bedroom as a surface, or the floor of your kitchen or your dining room. Is that clear? Any surface that you want to do your analysis on it. I'm going to choose one surface here. And I'm going to internalize data. So that I can delete them.
Did you select the surface in Rhino and then put the surface toggle in Grasshopper and click set surface? Is that what you just did?
Yeah, as I said, you have your geometry in Rhino, so you don't have to bake it because it's already in Rhino.
Yeah.
So what you need to do is you have to bring a brep or a surface. That's a container. So make sure that you're selecting a container, or alternatively, you can go to container here and click and bring a surface here.
Yep.
And then right click on it and set one surface and get back to your Rhino and assign the floor of your room or your dining room or your living room to that surface.
Okay.
That's the surface that you want to analyze. As I said, for instance, on this student, he assigned 2 surfaces.
Yeah.
Instead of 1, because he wanted to analyze his bedroom in 2 different heights.
Yeah.
So that's up to you. So I'm assigning 3 surfaces at the moment. So that's one is the courtyard in front of the building. The other one is the roof of my building. And the other one is this, I should say, south elevation, from my understanding, because the sun is not reaching it. Okay. So I have this, and I'm going to say, well, I need a context. The context is all the geometries around it. So it's already here. It's my building. I just make a copy, so I don't have to draw a long wire. So that's my context. I had a prep in here. Oh, okay. So I'm connecting my context, and then I'm connecting the surface that I want to analyze. So what you can do is you can analyze them all at the same time. So instead of giving multiple surfaces, you can bring a surface and you can right click and say set multiple surfaces. So if you can analyze your bedroom, dining room or living room and kitchen all at the same time. So you don't have to like assigning different surfaces like this. Yep, is that clear? But because my computer is very slow, I don't want to do that. I don't want to put too many surfaces because otherwise it takes so long time to calculate. But you can do that. It should be pretty much quick. I could do it if I wasn't sharing my screen with you, which I think it's not shared at the moment. Yeah, is that true? Can you see my Rhino?
Yeah, it's up there.
Oh, okay. And can you see the recording sign as well?
Yeah, it's up the top. I can see it.
Okay. So as I said, all the surfaces that you want to analyze, whether you want to analyze in 2 different heights, whether you want to analyze 3 or 2 different spaces, you can actually set multiple surfaces in here and connect it to the geometry. Okay. For now, I'm just doing the smallest one, which is the top surface, and leave the rest for later hopefully. And make sure that you are control Q it. Make sure that you are turning the preview off because you want to see the map. If you have the preview of your surface, the map wouldn't be clean and clear. You can either turn off this preview of the building for now, preview of the graph. Okay. So it asks for the grid size. I'm giving it a grid size of 10 for now. You can do multiple exploration to see which grid size actually fits your geometry. It gives you a nice and smooth colors and transitions. And so this is my surface, which I'm connecting it to geometry. So the geometry is the surface you want to analyze, and the context is everything around it. You can leave time step and what is the default? Is 10 centimeter. That's fine. Just leave that offset distance. But what it's basically saying is, if you have your surface on in Rhino, and if the mesh exactly projected onto that surface, it might not be easy to see it. So what Ladybug automatically do is it try to offset the map a little bit from the surface, so the map would be visible. And the default is 10 centimeter, which is fine, I should say. So all we need for now is running this, and then we should be able to see the result. So I'm just bringing a toggle, Boolean toggle, and put it on true and connect it. Let's see how long it takes for my calculator. Yours should be pretty much quick. This is not a component that takes hours and hours of calculation. It only takes less than 30 seconds at most, but when I'm just sharing my screen, it just, I don't know why, but nothing works on my computer. But hopefully this one is going to work. Do you have any questions so far?
Just wanting to confirm, so with the presentation, it's just on our the building that we selected.
Yeah, you're going to submit this in your portfolio.
Submit that and then present on that.
Yeah.
Then also submit our house, but we don't present on that.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so it looks that 10 centimeter offset does not working. You see that if I turn off my buildings, you can easily see that map. And because it's not a straight line, so it couldn't actually grid it. The reason that your mesh is like this, it's because it's going to grid it like, as I said, it's going to grid like this. This is my Rhino, and that shouldn't be the problem in your computer, but this is my Rhino and world axis. So that it tries to make a grid out of the world axis. So if I move that, you see that how it's rotated. So that's how it's trying to make a grid, and that's why the grid is like kind of like this. So if you want a smooth grid, then you have to increase the number of the grid. So the 10 is not probably enough for this surface, so I have to increase that, which I'm not going to do it in a moment. But you see that this part of the roof is where it is blocked by other buildings, and this part of the roof is it's where we have more hours that are receiving direct sun. So the hours of the year, so it's 376 hours of a year. How many hours do we have during a year? No? No? Calculation, 8,760, I guess. Let's see, that's from top of my head. I can remember this number, 8,760. So we have 356 days.
9,024 hours. Wait. Wrong one.
2,600.
8.
Should have it, but that doesn't really matter. I was just going to do a bit of calculation, and you can do later for actually creating analysis. So you can say that, for example, we have get out of my way. This floating panel is just making me crazy. Okay, so we can say that we have that's what I can remember, 8,760 hours per year. No idea where I'm getting it, but that's what I can remember. And then 376 hours of a year is 376 hours of a year is what we are receiving sun. And if we divide this by 8,760, we can say that it's only 4%. 4% of a time of a year, this roof is receiving direct sunlight, just in the highest part of it. So it's pretty much blocked by the buildings around it. Is that understandable? I'm giving this 1, so it offsets the distance 1 meter. Let's see if it works. So in summer, we don't have too much sun getting into this building, so we don't have to be worried about shading. Yep, is that our final conclusion? Can something like this be a final conclusion? So we shouldn't be worried about the building because we don't have too much sun on this building. So when you have direct sun onto your surface, what is going to be produced on the surface? Just an answer. What is going to be produced on the surface when you have a direct sun versus places that you don't have direct sun?
Glare?
Glare is one of them. Yeah, glare is one of them. Unfortunately, I don't think we have time to get into the glare analysis on this session, but yes, glare is one of them. What is next? We are getting shadows, yep. So it's light versus shadows. So shall we consider this as shadow analysis diagram? Can we say that this diagram is giving us where we have light and where we have shadow? Yes, but the colors doesn't really match with the shadow color, as you can see. They are more like, well, it's yellow. The shadows are black and white. So what we can do is we can change this legend parameter. We can change the color to make it more like a shadow analysis diagram. So we can add a legend parameter, and you can find this legend parameter on Ladybug onto the extra. That's LB legend parameter. So we want to change this legend parameter from a standard one of the Ladybug to a black and white. So again, on tab 4 extra, you have legend parameter, you bring it. You can even give it a min and max. You can say start when we have no sun hour, 0. And the max is, for example, 50%. That's totally up to you. Like, or 10%, whatever. So what is the max? What do you think about the max? In Melbourne, it should be more than that. These buildings are not from Melbourne, CBD, but in your houses, because Melbourne has strict rules for not casting shadow over the neighbors. Normally, you're receiving more than this direct sunlight. So I'm just saying that maybe 10 is the, or maybe according to this, I'm saying like 10%, which is 500 hours, I would say, is the max. So if it's more than 500 hours, then just do it like, so that's the legend. You're defining this legend 0 to 500. And the other thing I would like to change is the color. One, the color makes me crazy. So if you go to the extra tab again, there is Ladybug color range. So you cannot connect the color of the grasshopper. It should be a color range of the Ladybug. So if you put that, the color is going to the color, and the index, oh my God. And the index, if you hover over it, you can see that there is a long list in here, which gives you the numbers and the colors assigned to it. For example, for shadow study, you can have number 5 because that gives you a color range from black to white. And you have also like a glare study, annual comfort, thermal comfort, peak load balance. So everything you can change, like if you're doing your thermal comfort, if you're doing your UTCI, you can change the color to thermal comfort color. So that just needs a number. So I'm taking the number from here, shadow study is number 5, and I'm just putting 5 in here. And then there are some other things that you can explore it yourself. For example, like a larger, smaller. If you put the Boolean, it says that whether, like, if I'm putting min and max, for example, 500, do I have to, like the ladybug, have to count 500? Is it like an smaller and equal, or it's just a smaller? So it's just about this. And vertical or horizontal, you can change the legend parameter from vertical to horizontal. What else? Display. Yeah, just go through this. That's not what we are actually looking for in the class. So basically what we need is the color, which makes it like a shadow study, and then we connect this to the legend parameter in here. And then these should be changed to black and white from this min and max that we defined in the new legend parameter. Okay, so now you can see that this is changing to this, and because my highest number was 360 something, as you remember, let me just turn off these lines. Because the highest number that we had was 300 something, so the lightest color is starting from here. So if I change the number from 500 to 300, you would be able to see how white colors now become part of this. Or alternatively, you can leave that min and max empty, so the grasshopper automatically calculates what is the minimum and the maximum, and the legend is created by that min and max that is already on the grasshopper. So this is about the sound hour analysis. So we can do it on the other surfaces as well. We can do it on any surface that we want to analyze about the hours of the year that this surface is receiving direct sound. And yeah, any questions? And that's what you have to do with your geometry.
I just have a question. I think it was last week or the week before, you were going over the dry bulb temperature for uncomfortable and uncomfortable range.
Yeah.
Is that something we need to add into this assignment?
What do you mean that you need to add to this assignment? You write it down in your folio, or? To you is just for you to help you to analyze your data.
Yeah. So
we really don't want you to just copy and paste the information without adding anything from yourself to it. So I'm totally okay if you don't want to add, if you don't want to copy and paste the information about the range of the thermal comfort or the table of the thermal comfort. But alternatively, if you don't do it, then yeah, I mean, it's just about you to be able to analyze that when you're producing UTCI, what is the range of comfort? When we are saying that UTCI between 9 to 26 is a comfort zone, it's just for you to have a sense of what you're producing. It's not just for copying and pasting in your folio. It's just for you to being able to analyze, or if you are giving statements to any of these components are receiving this statement. They are receiving this data and this statement, so you can overlay components together. So if you're about to define any statement for your analysis, you have to have a knowledge. You have to have, for example, say like, I know that the wind speed above 1.5 or 2 meters per second is going to be disturbing. So that's something that you have to know to be able to define a statement.
Got it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Okay. So this is shadow analysis. You can do it for this surface, any surface that you want. So we're not going to repeat it. Let's see how we can create we can create radiation rows. Let me type it so I can't really remember where it is. Maybe, yeah, it's in here. It should be in analyze geometry. It's not radiation rows. Seems that they have deleted that component in the new version, because this is the radiation analysis. It's not radiation rows. Incidence radiation. Maybe that's. No. Forget about the radiation rows. You don't have to submit that in your assignment. That actually doesn't give you any interpreted data, so you can like manipulate the data. You can interpret it, analyze it. It's very simple data, so don't worry about that. Okay, so do you have any questions, or shall we move into presentation?
Wondering if it's quick, are you able to show us how to make those charts that show whether you're uncomfortable and uncomfortable again?
Yeah, do you want to share your screen?
I haven't done it.
Oh, you want to...
Wondering if you could show me again how to do that, create those charts of comfort and discomfort.
Oh, you mean UTCI?
Yes.
Okay.
For the UTCI, I also wanted to know, you know how you were talking about measuring it when there's no wind and when there's no sun? I just wanted to double check how to do that with the graph.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Let me just get rid of these to increase my speed. So do you guys know how to read the windrows? If you don't, please go ahead and type how to read windrows in Google. That's pretty much straightforward. Okay, so do you have my screen, or do I have to share my screen again? Not sure if it's shared or not.
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Okay, cool. So we have this data, and we are going to the thermal comfort, and that's outdoor thermal comfort, which you can, yeah, that we didn't get into this. That's UTCI thermal comfort. So we didn't explain adaptive thermal comfort and PMV comfort in this unit, but if you're interested, you can go ahead and read about the PMV and adaptive comfort. But it's basically for indoor, like it's where you're adapting yourself to the environment. So so if you go to the UTCI, you have four main components of the UTCI, four main components that are actually affecting your comfort when you're outside. One is air temperature, which we can't do anything with it. It's the air temperature, it's what it is. So we can't really do anything to change the air temperature. So we connect that. The other thing is wind speed and relative humidity and radiation. So when the sun is radiating on you or not. So it's amount of the radiation when you have the sun exactly radiating on you, when you feel sometimes that your left or your right is heating up and the other side is not. So it's where your faces or your body is exposed to the radiation of the sun. So we have air temperature, we have relative humidity, which again, we can't do anything about it. It's what it is. And you know that cities next to the sea are actually more humid than cities far from the sea. So that's something that we can't really do much. In indoor, we can add humidity or we can dry up the humidity. But in the outdoor, there is nothing we can do about the humidity to make people more comfortable. So we have air temperature, we have humidity, and then we are running UTCI without thinking about the radiation and wind. So if we have a toggle, Boolean toggle, and we are running this, make it true. So, so this is now running. And we have results. We want to see the results. We go to visualize data, ladybug hourly plot, and we connect the UTCI numbers to the data. And let's see, let's get back to here. Let's get into the top view and turn on off the grids. And see what happens in here. Okay. Okay, so when I'm actually looking into this data with these numbers, I can see that these numbers are in terms of temperature, but this temperature is not exactly the same temperature as dry bulb temperature, because it's adding humidity to it as well. So where you have humidity and you have high temperature is totally different from where the humidity is low, but you have a high temperature. Is that make sense? So humidity cools down the temperature. So in areas that you don't have humidity, but you have high temperature, you have like 30 degrees temperature, you feel more hot than areas that you have humidity with that 30 degrees. So this temperature is taking account all these four components together and creating this number of temperature. So this number is what you feels like. It's not the temperature of the weather. It's what you feels like. So maybe the temperature is more than 38, maybe it's 45, but you feels like 38 because there is humidity in the air. Is that make sense? Okay. So for giving you the feeling of what you feel like in perception of your temperature, like your comfort, we have 4 items. We have air, radiation, relative humidity, and wind. So if we add wind to this chart, definitely your feeling would be changed. So if you have wind, then the wind is cooling down more. It's cooling you more down. So it's like a little bit more moderation. If you have radiation, it's heating you up. So without adding any radiation or any wind, this UTCI is still working, but it's not accurate. It's assuming that there is no wind and there is no radiation, which is not true. You have wind and you have radiation in all geographical zones. It's different, yeah. Yes, Lara.
Sorry, wondering, can you take out the humidity, and would that be appropriate for Melbourne? Because Melbourne doesn't really get that humid.
It doesn't work. The component doesn't work without relative humidity because there is no left, there is no right dash. So anything that only have left dash is required.
Yes.
For the component to work. So you can only analyze radiation and wind. And the reason is, as I said, there is nothing you can do with the humidity. So there is no strategy outside that we can actually change the humidity of the weather.
That's right. Okay.
You can do it inside, but we can't do it outside. That's why it's a constant input. You have to actually connect it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So the radiation, as I said, by default here, it assumes that there is no radiation, and the wind is 0.05, which is close to nothing, just close to no winds. So this is what you're getting. And if you want to see the numbers, so this one, so the output of this component is the number of the UTCI, which is the feeling like temperatures. And then it's a comfort, so it's going to classify or categorize these UTCI numbers into the feeling. It gives like 0 and 1, whether you have thermal stress or you don't have thermal stress. So if you connect this, it's just a 0 and 1 data. It says, well, all the red ones are comfortable and all the blue ones are uncomfortable. It doesn't give you exactly the numbers or nothing. It's just a condition, okay? So it's a comfort condition, and it's a 0 and 1. This condition, what does this one do? It's actually trying to say, well, it's not just between 9 to 26 degrees that people feel comfortable, because by common sense, people know in winter they have to wear more clothes, and in summer they have to actually take off clothes, go to the beach or whatever. So it actually takes into the consideration the common sense of the people. So it says it's not just 0, which is neutral, that you feel comfortable. You can go a little bit above and below, because people are using their common sense. They're doing the relative activities. They're wearing the relative clothes when they're feeling hot or cold. So this one is taking 3 numbers. It's not just neutral. It's just -1 and +1. And you should expect more actually comfortable times, because it actually takes into consideration that it's neutral, either a little bit hot or a little bit cold. But that little bit cold and little bit hot is maybe something that you can still tolerate. If you go to the category, you can see that it gives you all the numbers. So it's not just 0, minus, and +1. It gives you from -5 to +5 range, which, as I said, you can find the table completely in the UTCI website, utci.org website. You can find the table. It's in the Word file. You can download it and look at these numbers. So the no thermal stress is when UTCI is between 9 to 26. Slight cold stress is from 0 to 9, and slight heat stress is from 26 to 28. So this one gives you a more range of colors. So you can see that most of the places in Melbourne without wind and radiation seems to be no thermal stress. But people living in Melbourne know that there is something wrong. most of the time in winter, we just don't have slight cold. It's actually more like a moderate, strong or very strong coldness in Melbourne that people feel. So the reason is we have wind in Melbourne, and the wind is not accounted in this calculation. That's why with just temperature and just humidity, we have a very good range of comfort. You can see most of this chart is yellow, and it seems that we have a very good comfort in Melbourne, but we don't. If you go to this one, the last item, it gives you a percentage. But you need to connect another component to read this, and it's comfort statistic. So you can't just connect this to that. It doesn't read it. For read this output, you have to bring another component, which is comfort statistic. Probably it's in here. I'm not sure. Or maybe in this one. Yep, it's on the analyze data comfort statistic. So if you connect this conf object to this comfortable object, now this one, it gives you the percentage of time that conditions are hotter than acceptable limit, the percentage of time that the conditions are within acceptable limit, and the percentage of time that the weather is colder than limit. Probably you can't connect this directly as well, because these are numbers, so you can connect panels with it. So this is a percentage, as it says on the document. It says the percent of time. So it's 4.8% of the time that you feel hot. Hot means hotter than what is accepted, acceptable limit. And then if you copy and paste this, so 85% of the time you have comfortable, and 9% you have 9.5% you have uncomfortable, cool weather. So this is taking into account nothing. So I'm just grouping this and say, maybe just grouping this and say scribble. No wind, no sun. Okay, so we have no wind, no sun in here. I'm copying this down, and now I want to take into account both wind and maybe just wind. Wind, no sun. So what should I do? I should connect the wind temperature, wind speed, or wind velocity to here. And I have to change the base point. Remember, we talked about the base point. These data are now overlapped each other. So I'm creating a point and change the base point of this one. Set one point, this one, and change the base point of this one. So now it's readable. So you can see that now more uncomfortable situations. So I'm just maybe adding this one. This 0 and 1. This 0 and 1. So you can see that how much uncomfortable weather we have in winter now. And in summer, we also have more uncomfortable weather. The reason is we are not counting the radiation or the sun yet. So the numbers has dramatically changed. Now we have only 38% comfortable time in Melbourne. 2% hot, and 59, 60, almost 60% uncomfortable time due to the wind, due to the coldness. So this is what we have to think about in Melbourne, because wind is a very important aspect in Melbourne. It changes, it dramatically affects people's comfortability in winter and even in summer. Because when there is no wind, there is no cooling down in summer as well. I'm repeating this for sun radiation. So this time, no wind, but only sun. Creating another point here and changing this point to this one. And now I have to change the pointer. So I'm disconnecting the wind and I'm connecting the radiation. Oh, the radiation has to be created. It's not coming exactly from here. So I'm going to analyze data. It's outdoor solar radiation MRT, and that's MRT connecting to here. And I'm going to connect some data for making this MRT working. So I'm making this close to here to quickly connect with location, temperature, normal radiation, diffuse horizontal radiation, horizontal infrared, leave that for now. Sky exposure, leave it for now. So it should be working now. I'm just really entitled to run it. And make it true. So definitely you can change these numbers as well, because the fraction of the body that is exposed to the sun, and also the sky exposure, the body parameter. How are you expecting people like to expose to the sun? Are they laying down? Are they sitting? Are they standing? So this actually changes this. And for all of them, there is a parameter which we explained last session, which you probably know it by now. So if we change the radiation, now you see that this one has changed again, and the values has changed. So now we have 69% of the time comfortability, 20% hot. So you see that this 2% dramatically increased to 20%. And this 60% of uncomfortability during the cold hours is actually changed to 11%, because now the sun is warming. We have the sun, we have the radiation. So if I copy this and paste it and say, well, I'm actually going to analyze both wind and sun together. So yes, wind, and yes, sun. So adding wind as well to this one, wind speed. Come on. And I'm going, I did it wrong. Going from this way. Come on. Wind speed. And I'm going to define another point over here to bring this up. So changing the point. So now this is the real situation. This is where we have wind, we have sun, we have dry bulb temperature, and we have humidity.